Hey guys, CaptainAquatics. Today we are going to be discussing how to set up and maintain an African cichlid community aquarium. This video is not intended to be a guide for any one specific species of cichlid, but more so a guide on how to generally set up and maintain a large African cichlid community. Let's start right off the bat with tank size. For tank size, you're going to be looking at a minimum of 55 gallons, although I personally recommend a 75 to 100 plus gallons so you can get more cichlids and more space. Decor and substrate for the aquarium, you're going to be wanting to do a sand rock mixture is what I have personally found to do best on, although an all sand or all rock substrate is certainly possible. Ensure there are a lot of hiding areas. You want lots of rocks and sticks and decorations, anything that will break the line of sight, so if there is a fight, these smaller fish can duck behind the rock or around the stick to try to get away. You want to avoid putting in just 1 or 2 caves because that will cause territorial disputes. Moving on to filtration, there's no getting around it. You have to have very heavy filtration with African cichlids. You know, when you set up a tank, as we will discuss later, you get a lot of them, a lot of waste, a lot of food. You gotta have some kind of heavy filtration. I personally recommend a canister filter, or if possible, a sump. You can make a hang-on back filter work, but I would advise something stronger than that. I definitely do not advise just doing sponge filters in the African cichlid tank. And moving from filtration into maintenance, African cichlid tanks require a lot of maintenance. Lots of water changes are going to be needed to offset the waste and the food. I personally rescape the tank every once in a while. You know, you don't want to be doing it every week or even every month, but you know, a couple of times a year, just rescape the tank, even if it's just shifting a couple rocks here and there to offset any territories. I have personally found success with that. Now on to probably the biggest part of this video. We're going to be talking about stocking, aggression management, and compatibility. So for stocking the aquarium, it's no secret you always see these African cichlid tanks with tons and tons of fish in there. That's perfectly reasonable. You want to really overstock the aquarium. The idea is that you're diffusing the aggression. You know, if you have 2 African cichlids and they're fighting, they're just going to keep fighting over and over and butting heads. But if you have 10 African cichlids and these 2 try to fight, all the other ones are going to be curious and try to intervene and will kind of break itself up. Or if you have 1 bully fish, instead of him being able to just pick on 1 fish, he's going to have lots of fish he needs to try to fight off. So by overstocking the African cichlid aquarium, you really get much better chances of success long term. If you are going to do a mix of mabunas, peacocks, and haps, which is a little bit controversial, personally I keep that mix in my aquarium. I have found a lot of success with it, but the best way you get success mixing mabunas, peacocks, and haps is by having a nice even mix of the bunch. You don't want to have 1 hap with a bunch of mabunas or 1 mabuna with a bunch of haps or peacocks. That is going to cause issues. If you're going to mix, make sure you get a fairly even mix of each. Of course, as you likely have already heard or know, you are going to have to do a lot of monitoring for aggression. Sometimes African cichlids are just way too overly aggressive and will not work, and in that case you need to be ready to re-own them or move them to a separate tank. Although, on that same note, you should expect the occasional fight. You just don't want 1 cichlid to be repeatedly just non-stop going after every other fish in the tank, where you're seeing tons of torn fins and you're seeing lots of stress, or all the other fish are hiding and there's just this 1 guy out that's, you know, patrolling the entire tank. You don't want to see that, but the occasional fight is to be expected. As for other fish you could potentially add to the tank, I mostly do not recommend adding anything into the tank except maybe some peaceful but larger species of cat. fish and some bristlenose. Personally, the only other fish I have in the African cichlid aquarium are a group of bristlenose. I've had success with Raphael catfish. I have some of those in there. I have a couple of pickless cats in there and a Synodontis. Those guys all do well in the African cichlid tank, but in general, you don't really want to add anything else to it, especially not other smaller types of cichlids or more docile types of cichlids, such as angelfish or rams. Larger South American cichlids are definitely a no-go because they will actually end up eating some of the smaller African cichlids, although some South American cichlids like acaras and convicts have been known to work well. Just do your research regarding that stuff. Now, as for when you're buying these fish, a lot of people, including myself, recommend you just buy them all at once. However, with the prices of things, that is not realistic for a lot of people. I did not do that. I did not buy all of my fish at once. So the other way that I recommend buying is buying in groups of 4 to 5 or more if possible. And when you buy these fish, you want to add them right after a water change, and if possible, mix up the decorations every time you add a new fish to offset any current territories. Alright guys, that is my advice and my experience in establishing an African cichlid aquarium. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I will respond to as many as I possibly can. I have had my African cichlid tank for quite a while now, and it is definitely one of, if not my favorite tank down in the fish room. So colorful, so active, the fish really get to know you. They swarm up in a bowl at the tank when they think you're going to feed them. Truly a great experience for anyone willing to take on the challenge. That is all I have for you guys today. I will see you guys in the next video.